I'm Jeremiah Curtright, trainer out of St. Charles MMA.
I'm Zach Scroggin. I train at Marathon Mixed Martial Arts.
I mean, I started playing college sports, college soccer I played, and then after that got done, I had to find something else because I just got bored. And so I started fighting, and then 10 years later, I'm here today. So
I've been fighting for about 6-7 years, and just been ready to compete.
He's a taller opponent, which so I feel like his teammates all the time. So I feel like I match up pretty well. I'm gonna be definitely a harder task for him. He's fought some, like at a pro level, he's fought some guys that I know are okay. And I know I fought some pretty tough ass dudes. So I feel like it's definitely be a good one.
Man, I feel like I'm a perfect matchup for him and try to get in there and get the finish.
I mean, it's either gonna be quick or it's gonna be the third round. Like, it's not gonna be a decision, I know that. One of us is gonna finish. I feel like we both go for the finish, and it's either me or him. And I feel like it's gonna be me.
I just see my hand getting raised. I don't care if it goes full fight or if I can get the finish quick.
And now for our co-main event of the evening. Walking out first, fighting out of the blue corner, Jeremiah Curtright.
People and has looked very good against them.
Fighting out of the red corner, Zach Scroggin.
Zach Scroggin coming to the cage tonight off 2 back-to-back finishes, both of them in under 40 seconds. A little bit of a shaky start to his career with the split decision in his pro debut here at FAC, but ever since then he has been off to the races, putting down Keith the Sleeper Dawson with leg kicks in under 40 seconds in his last outing. But you know, you're going to have to bring the whole kitchen sink to take Jeremiah Curtright out. We saw him hang in there against Ryan Leininger, Canelito. I call him the violence god. You know, I mean, one of the best fights I've seen in the last 5 years between those two gentlemen. But Canelito put out one of the biggest outputs I've seen in a mixed martial arts fight in a long time, and Jeremiah kept coming.
Yeah, I had the privilege of training with Ryan Leininger for a year or two, and Ryan's nasty. His striking's nasty. He picks you apart. He just touches you and he moves. It's very slick, and him and I were able to exchange a lot of striking techniques, and Ryan's striking is slick, and Curtright had a very, very good fight with him. I was talking about strength of schedule. Curtright has fought the tougher people. That being said, you can only, you know, the butcher can only slaughter the lambs that are brought to him. So Scroggins has done what he's meant to do, which is finish these guys. He had a very competitive fight in his debut. He's learned from that, and since then has had one-way traffic in his fights. Here in the tail of the tape, Jeremiah Curtright is 6 years his elder. Zach Scroggins will have the 1.5 inch advantage.
That believes in safe, consistent, and quality cannabis products for everyone. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, Jeremiah Curtright. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, Zach Scroggin.
No secret at who the hometown favorite is. Jeremiah 6 years older, 3 inches shorter. And a big task in front of him tonight.
Big calf kick by Zach Scroggins. That's been a weapon of his. He was able to finish his last fight with it. And it only takes 1 or 2. It only takes 1 or 2 calf kicks. They've really changed the game, and that's 3.
Yeah, it's usually 3 to 5 where we start to see a real difference maker. But that right hand lands already for Jeremiah Curtright.
And this is a great way for Curtright to mitigate the reach and height of Zach Scroggins. Push him up against the fence. You guys are both the same height when your back's against the fence and you're curled over trying to defend the takedown.
You know, this has been the one Achilles heel for Jeremiah Curtright. Early in his career was his grappling, but you know, looked okay there early, but now we're starting to get into deeper waters now that his butt's down against the canvas.
And same can be said for Scroggins. Granted, his submissions, the guillotines, the way he uses long limbs to finish fights via submission, have always been there, but he had an inability to get off his back earlier in his career. As we see him fish for what looks like to be like a potential arm triangle. It's going to be tough to finish with the fence in his way, but put the idea out.
Good head position for Scroggins, getting his head on the other side of the elbow here, but Curtright fishing for the Kimura, doesn't quite have the grip yet, inching his fingers into that lock though.
Curtright's gonna have to push his weight forward to try to get the seesaw, the weight transfer going here, as Scroggins beautifully shuts that down by slicing his knee over on the bicep, making Curtright let go of that grip.
Curtright got the underhook on the far side, but has to get to his hip. Scroggins doing a good job getting his elbow back below Curtright's to nullify that underhook altogether.
Yeah, beautiful job of just shutting down that underhook. That's what you need to get up, is that underhook. And he has it. It's just not deep enough. You can't have a shallow underhook. Scroggins almost going for this half crucifix position from top half.
Scroggins' elbow still doing a good job clamping over the top with that overhook to nullify Curtright's attempt to get back to his upside hip.
Curtright trying to change the scenery, right? He wasn't liking what he was liking in the stand-up. We see the nasty calf, or the nasty marks on Curtright's leg.
Oh, wow, I just noticed that.
What I'm telling you guys, it really takes 2 calf kicks, if placed correctly, to really make you not want to step on that leg again, to make you switch your stance. It's not like a thigh kick where it takes, a handful of them. It really changed the game in the sport.
You can count the toes.
Yeah,
you can count the toes in the bruise right now.
You really can. From the angle we see here in the booth, we can literally see Zach Scroggins' toes on the calf of Curtright.
Scroggin has that wrist trapped on the bottom side. This is where stuff starts to get dicey.
And if Scroggins wants to land good ground and pound, he can dig his head into the armpit of Curtright, just like he's doing there. He's attempting to do it to try to get his arm out. It just gives you extra leverage, and it gives you some sort of control of that arm.
Yeah,
here we go.
Once you have that bottom wrist trapped, it forces the bottom player to do one of 2 things. Either protect his face with that top hand or frame on the hip. Either way, you're in a bad position.
Yeah, the Dagestani handcuff really became popular from Khabib Nurmagomedov.
As you can see, the bruise right here, zooming in on the leg of Jeremiah Curtright, on that left leg at the calf. I mean, it is completely chopped up right now.
Yeah, that's mincemeat right there on the leg of Jeremiah Curtright, and I think that's what gave him the idea. Said, hey, I don't like this. Let's change the scenery. Initiated the grappling, but it didn't turn out too well for him as Scroggins ended up with the takedown now on top, landing some good ground and pound. Had the thought of a guillotine again. He has a good guillotine. It looks like he's jumping for it. Ends up in mount with a minute left to work. Plenty of time on the clock.
Curtright giving up his back here to elicit a stand-up attempt, but if you're gonna bring your elbow in front of your center line once your back is up against the cage, you have to go right away, or else this is what happens 100 out of 100.
Scroggins had the opportunity to keep the body triangle and hip in to try to flatten him out. Decided to go shallow hooks instead and fish for the neck. Fishing for the neck again, trying to get under the chin. This is a face crank. This hurts. This hurts. This feels like your jaw's gonna fall off. Curtright doing the right thing, pushing the elbow. I've seen people break their jaws like this. Frankie Edgar, Cups Watson comes to mind. A couple other fights come to mind where people have literally gotten their jaw broke from this face crank position.
Curtright's tough, man. He is extremely resilient. Not only did we see the fight with Canelito, but seeing this guy in the training room, he only works with heavyweights and light heavyweights at 170 pounds.
And almost on cue, as you're saying how tough he is, he decides to wave to the crowd as he's getting his face cranked. Very, very good showing from Zach Scroggins in that first round. Picking his opponent apart on the feet, not letting him find his range, not being in the way of really any of his strikes. Calf kick, that was calf kick number 1, or maybe number 2. That's 3. Slips over on the third. This is when Curtright initiated the grappling, which didn't favor him, as Scroggins beautifully turned him, reshot, was in on his own takedown, pulled the legs through. ended up on top where he spent the rest of the round.
Yeah, you know, if you notice there, right before that, Curtright got reversed there. The second he lost the head position battle up against the cage, he lost Scroggin's back up against the cage.
Yeah, head position is very important. And really every area of the sport, right? Like even in scrambles, high head usually wins the scrambles. If your head's higher than your opponent, it usually means you're winning that scramble.
Ooh, big right hand over the top for Scroggins, just peeks through.
That calf kick was checked. That's what Curtright needs, addressing that calf kick.
You know, at this stage of the fight, you know, even a checked calf kick is still going to cause some damage.
Absolutely, as he goes right back to it. And if Scroggins wants to change the kind of the way he's landing these, if he wants to go low, he can really chew up that ankle. There's a peroneal nerve even lower on the leg than where he's landing, to where it just takes one to shut it off, to where you go dead leg. We saw it with Michael Chandler. We've seen it a couple times in the UFC, to where it just makes you do the stanky leg. It really forces you to fight on one leg.
We saw it, man, so many times over the last few months. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, Charles Johnson in his last outing as well, stomping on his foot to wake it back up.
Good little blitz from Curtright. If I'm, you know, it's hard to ID things in the middle of combat, as we see him kind of hop on that leg a little weird. But if every time I blitz Scroggins, he backs up with his hands fully extended out, I'm doing that the rest of the fight.
Curtright finally switching stances.
And this is why it's important. We saw Dylan Reichman in the main event of the amateurs being able to fight from both stances. We've seen it a couple times tonight. This is the importance of it. If you don't like what you're seeing from one stance, change the scenery, change it up. You know, there's a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, if it is broke, you got to fix something. So you got to change something up. It is important nowadays that the sport's evolved to where you should be able to fight from both stances, no problem.
You have to. At this point, it's especially this stage in your pro career, it's a non-negotiable.
Here Scroggins fishing for the ghillie.
Does a good job keeping Curtright's head in the center of his chest and just shucking him back. Curtright not even closing up the half guard here.
And it might be a marathon MMA. Trey Ogden has really good jiu-jitsu, a high-level black belt himself. But the type of shoulder pressure that is being shown by his students and fighters and Zach Scroggins and Nick Meck, when they're in this half guard position, they dig their shoulder into your throat. And their head position is on the other side of your head, just making you feel all the weight.
And you can tell how comfortable Scroggin is here, because not at any point in time has he attempted to re-pummel that underhook on the far side. He's just content keeping the elbow clamped and just bashing in Curtright's face on the bottom side.
Scroggins threatening with the head and arm choke.
Here the corner, Trey Ogden screaming for Scroggin to walk his hips to the right and force the mount position here. Minute 50 left here in round number 2 of our co-main event of the evening.
Yeah, when it comes to advancing position, it really depends on the fighter and where they're most comfortable at. If they're really good at keeping mount and squeezing their knees together and making it hard and impossible for you to get out, then stay there. If they get, you know, bridged over a lot, if their weight distribution is different for their body, keep them in half guard. Top half guard's been a great way to land a ground and pound. Scroggins hasn't been able to land a crazy ground and pound. As I say that, he's landing some pretty good ground and pound now. And gets the finish, makes me eat my own words.
Wow.
I do feel like there weren't very hard shots, but there was a plethora of them. Mike England didn't like what he saw. You know, I'm not sure if there was a warning given. Curtright definitely upset with the stoppage. I've seen him endure a lot of shots in previous fights, and you know, we talked about how tough he was earlier on the broadcast. I feel like he didn't get the opportunity, and that's what he's talking to Mike England about right now. But here we see in this fight,
right, and you know,
bicep cuts through, is landing 3, 4, 1. These are small shots. I'm not a fan of the stoppage, especially considering how much experience Curtright has. You know, if these guys were amateurs, he's laying there not really doing much, but Yeah, you know, read the room. These guys do this for a living. You know, we have people that want to make it to the big show.
And, you know, like I said, in his last outing, not his last outing, I apologize, the one before that, we saw Jeremiah Curtright against, you know, Ryan Leininger, and one of the best wars in LFA history over the last, you know, 3 or 4 years. And, you know, for him to be, I hate to say even stopped like that is a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, yeah. And Mike Ingler's been reffing forever. You know, he's usually on the right side of decisions, but that was a questionable one I do disagree with.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is ended at 3 minutes and 39 seconds of the second round. Your winner by TKO due to strikes out of the red corner, Zach Scroggin.
Zach Scroggin improving to 4-0 with 3 straight finishes in our co-main event in the Milagro Tequila Winners Circle. Closing in on the final portion of our card tonight. Our long-awaited main event, Markel Medeiros versus Tracy Reeder, is almost underway.
25 years old, Zach Scroggin remains undefeated. And really, we talked about his debut fight, a very close split decision that a lot of people thought should have went the other way. It really feels like he's learning from his mistakes and keeps getting better and better and picks up a win over the, not only a win, but a finish win, right? We don't agree with the stoppage, but a finish win over the always tough Jeremiah Curtright.